Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Now I want to make a quick video on a topic that I have covered before in the past, but I checked it out and I'm not overly happy with how I cover it, so we're going to do it again and a bit better this time with a bit better view. Now there's been a rise lately of people getting scammed, thinking that they were buying sintered diamond burrs and then finding out that they had electroplated. And a lot of the times the sellers will just say, nah, it's on you because the photo showed electroplated and our title just said sintered or something. Something really annoying. If there's one thing I hate more than people getting scammed out of their coin, it's people viewing my channel that get scammed out of their coin. So I'm going to arm you with some knowledge on things to look out for so that if you do get scammed, you can definitely back it up and you can close down all those loopholes that they throw. So these are 3 examples. I sell both sintered diamond and electroplated on the website. I could easily just say stick to my website, but I do appreciate that people are bargain hunters. I myself am a very avid bargain hunter. If I can find a good deal online, I will certainly hunt it down and pull the trigger on it. So not everyone's going to buy from there, so these are the things you want to look out for. Don't worry about shape. Don't worry about size, don't worry about shaft thickness or shaft length. It can all be modified to whatever the manufacturer wants. They can do it however they want. You can see here, sintered diamond, big one, sintered diamond, standard size, which closely matches the electroplated. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about the color bands. This isn't even consistent across all the different manufacturers anyway. All it's doing is talking about grit. We don't care about the grit. What we care about is how the grit is distributed amongst the burr, because that is what separates a sintered diamond from an electroplated. So we'll just look at these 2 closer models here. One thing that's very hard for them to get away with is the general gloss. You see that reflective surface there? Really shiny, whereas this one is really matte. That is essentially because the diamonds are, you can think of it as the diamonds being glued to the surface of a piece of metal by depositing more metal over the top of them. So they're partially covered diamonds. They'll reveal themselves when you start using them. These are brand new, so you can see all of those little lumps. Whereas in the sintered diamond case, you basically mix up a diamond powder with a metal powder, and then you launch the temperature and pressure up until it fuses into this single piece of slightly porous metal. If we have a closer look, here with the macro lens, we can look much closer. See how this one is all lumpy like sandpaper. So it looks like these big chunky diamonds are glued to the surface, but then they're covered with a little bit of metal because that metal is what's binding it onto the surface there. It's just electroplated on. I've picked this burr in particular because if you look at the bottom here, sometimes they'll coat really well underneath as well, but because it's a surface that doesn't cut, you don't really need the diamonds on there. And in this case here, you can see that from the dipping, they haven't fully dipped it and coated it with the diamonds. So that is the base shiny metal right there. If I get the angle in this direction, you can see there's a big chunky diamond there, but most of it is just the plain metal. That's what's underneath all of this surface. Now, a thing to look out for sintered diamond is I've seen it in every single one. You get this little almost brass coppery kind of look at the bottom there. So that's just the end of the stem of the shank, and then all of this is the metal diamond mix. And you look real carefully, you can see there's a lot of little holes. It's actually a fairly porous material because when you mix those 2 powders, the metal powder and the diamond powder, you're also going to have little gaps between each of those granules, and it's not going to fully disappear, so you get these little air pockets. So you want to look for that giveaway little brass. And if I bring in that other burr, the bigger one, so you can see how obvious it is, that transition between shank to that end piece to the actual material itself. And you can see there's a little bit of a twinkle, and that's the diamonds that are already exposed. But if you have a good look, there can be little air pockets here and there, covered diamonds, exposed diamonds. And like I showed in an old video where I ground these 2 up against each other, all of these, once they peel off, you're left with nothing. You're left with just smooth metal underneath. Now, if you take it easy and you use water and you're real careful, they can last a while, but a lot of the time you can actually just strip all of those just by applying too much pressure. Whereas here in the sintered diamond case, all you're going to do is peel off outer layers until eventually you'll wear it down to nothing. The only thing that can happen is that with some of the bigger grits, the coarser grits, you can knock those little diamonds out and then you're just left with little holes. In that case, that's when you use the dressing stick because the burr starts cutting too slowly, and the dressing stick, you grind off a lot of the metal and reveal the fresh diamonds underneath. They can dislodge. Doesn't happen so much with the finer 600 style grits, but with something like the 80, the diamonds are pretty chunky. You can see them with your eyeballs. So those ones can get ripped out. But that difference in lifespan is where the money is. So if you get a 10 pack of these electroplated burrs, you're looking at a few bucks, but a lot of the time, if you see sintered diamond, you'll be looking at, well, over $100. I've still kept my prices down to 90, but that probably gonna have to change pretty soon, looking at the price of the last restock, but we'll see how we go. All in all, look for that glossiness, look for that matte effect, look for this little band here. Don't worry about everything else, just look for that little band there, not the colored band. Just the base of the burr, you want to look and see that. Of course, it's much easier to tell in person when you've got them in hand, because what you can do is you can just rub your finger across and go, oh yep, that's electroplated, that's sintered. These ones are much smoother in general, whereas these are kind of like a sandpaper. All the grit is just glued onto the front of it, just through metal electroplating rather than actual glue. But that's the world we live in. There's just people trying to take advantage of other people and conning them out of their money. If you see a listing for sintered diamond burrs and they're $10 for a pack of 10, just automatically walk the other way. They can't even make it that cheap. And just be really diligent. Just always assume that people are out there to scam you. That's pretty much what I do online. It's sad, but it's the only way you can keep yourself clear of a lot of these scams. It's the same with buying opal. You've actually got to go in, if you don't know the person, and assume that they're not entirely being genuine. It really sucks, but humans can also really suck. So just guard yourself. If you see a listing or something, feel free to email me and I'll give it a look. Sometimes I do miss messages and emails now. They're starting to get a little bit voluminous. I mean, I've only just recently discovered that I've got unread messages on Instagram because I never use it. So I got to go through and reply to 8-month-old comments there, but that is what it is. All you can do is try, and I do see 99% of stuff, and I'm just here to help. So hopefully this closer look gives you some ideas. It doesn't stop a seller though from taking photos of these and then sending you these in the mail. So always just try to be careful. Places where you can easily get your money back. PayPal's super helpful for that, for both buyers and sellers, protects both sides. Fees are annoying as a seller, but whatever. At least as a buyer, you can be really confident that you can get your money back as soon as something goes wrong. So good luck. Happy hunting. I hope to see far less messages about this topic. Super sad when people are thinking that they got a bargain kit for $30 and then they end up getting a super expensive $30 kit of electroplated burrs. I'm not there for that, so let's weed that out. If anyone you know gets really confused about it, feel free to explain it to them and just give them those pointers of what to look for between them. It's pretty hard to make a sintered diamond burr look like an electroplated and vice versa. So good luck, and I'll see you in the next one. I've got a bunch of carving to do with some of these burrs. Catch you guys.